Chapter 41. Anti-Human Organization. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The already devastated students looked even more terrified by the second. Qin Feng did a quick sweep of the room and noticed that Chen Ming was gone. Zhao Yuanyuan was still where she was, looking a little sluggish as if she had had a little too much to drink. Panting and sweating, she sprawled limply over the floor and seemed to have lost all her energy. Qin Feng guessed that she was probably drugged. Good, very good. A group of huge guys barging in like wolves to snatch away these students who were no better armed than sheep. How could Qin Feng allow that to happen right in front of him? The verdant Emperor saber was unsheathed, its green glow emanated brightly, creating a menacing vibe. The Black Spider group had split up, and the guns they carried were only used to threaten the people in the room and not kill them. Considering they were all spread out, shooting at will would only injure their comrades. That would be a devastating outcome for both parties. This was why gunners had a long string of limitations as the third class. Since the attackers were not traveling in a group, it was an opportunity for Qin Feng to act. Gathering all his concentration, his internal force surged and leaped forward like an arrow. The verdant Emperor saber was brandished, slitting into the victim's neck like a hot knife on butter. This rune equipment was made of Beast King.grade materials, and the distinct silver light that it produced made it the stuff of legends. This was the very first time the blade had tasted blood and had explicitly exhibited its robust aptitude. The cut was so smooth and unhindered, it looked as if a blade hadn't run through the person's throat in the first place. It was easier than cutting into tofu, as if slicing through thin air. Qin Feng did not hesitate. He continued to swing the blade, aiming at the neck of another assailant. When the enemy felt the blade slitting his throat, he simply looked startled. It was fast. Too blinding fast. That bright shimmer of the blade was the last thing he saw. The head of the guy whose neck Qin Feng had slit earlier slid off the neck, the hideous smile he carried enshrined permanently on his face. Blood sprouted out of the severed neck, reaching a meter high. Qin Feng continued to move across the room. Ancient warrior. Be careful. The guy in the black spider mask reacted quickly, grabbing the weapon he had on him and charging towards Qin Feng. Then, a knife suddenly appeared in front of Qin Feng, striking his verdant Emperor saber. The black spider guy had intended to ram Qin Feng, hoping his companion could use the opportunity to attack and kill him. However, the verdant Emperor saber shaved off the black spider guy's blade without so much as a sound. The knife was forged out of steel alloy and had cost the guy 20,000 yuan. Yet, in all its toughness, it was broken just like that. The black spider guy realized that the seemingly fragile object in Qin Feng's hand should not be underestimated. Silver light rune equipment. How is this possible? F***ck, aren't they just a group of students? The black spider guys looked at each other, yelled and stormed towards Qin Feng. All of a sudden, Qin Feng found himself fighting the whole group. Hurry up and run. Run, you guys. Zhou Hao shouted. He did a quick roll towards the two people Qin Feng killed earlier and took over their weapons. Unexpectedly, another hand also reached out next to him, and when he looked up, he saw that it was Xiao Jing. Their eyes met for a moment. Both Zhou Hao and Xiao Jing may not have Qin Feng's strength, but they were not going to sit around and wait to be captured. Their other classmates still had not awakened, so they would not have been able to help anyway. It was evident that terror had filled their eyes, bodies unconsciously shaking like a leaf. Realizing that there was an opportunity to escape, many started fleeing. Son of a bitch. Grab that girl, and let's go, bellowed one of the assailants. As the leader of the group made up his mind to retreat, there was no longer any need for them to continue their act. Following the command of their boss, the rest of the Black Spider group ran towards Zhao Yuanyuan. It turned out the real target was Zhao Yuanyuan. Protect Zhao Yuanyuan. Qin Feng cut in as he realized she was in danger. Although Zhou Hao and Xiao Jin did not understand what Qin Feng was doing, they did as they were told. Bang! 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 All hell broke loose, and bullets started pattering the entire room like rain. Although the attackers all wore bulletproof vests, one hit to the head would inevitably prove fatal. F***CK. I'll kill you, one of them screamed. But then all of a sudden, his body was involuntarily sucked by an unknown force. Qin Feng had finally found their weak spot. From the start of the attack, 5 people had already died under Qin Feng's watch. Right now, there were only 7 more attackers left who had gathered in a circle around Qin Feng. A situation like this was no different from setting oneself up as a sacrificial lamb. Of course, that was not the case at all for Qin Feng. Asteroid assimilation, he shouted. There was a deafening explosion followed by the asteroid assimilation activating. The internal forces of the black spider assailants poured out and were drawn towards Qin Feng, causing them to lose control of their bodies totally. Then, Qin Feng's verdant emperor saber was seen traveling in a circular motion midair. Everything suddenly seemed utterly frozen in time. Plop! 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 All 7 heads fell to the ground and rolled around. Bright, fresh blood gushed out the decapitated fools, flooding the floor in a pool of red. Qin Feng's previously white shirt was now crimson. Splat! Plop! Having lost heads, the bodies collapsed one by one with ominous thuds. With the death of the 7 black spider members, the chaos died down, and a sense of peaceful relief filled the air once again. Then, out of nowhere, some remaining girls who did not manage to escape started crying. It hurts. Arg. Ambulance. Call an ambulance. I'm hit. Qin Feng slowly set himself on the floor. Phew, he exhaled in relief. The wails and cries of students were heartbreaking, as they finally heard the loud, shrill wail of sirens. Patrol and medical teams were here after a harrowing 10 minutes. Under the supervision of paramedics, all his classmates were promptly fitted into the ambulances one after another. Qin Feng, on the other hand, gripped his fist tightly. Are there any casualties? Qin Feng asked with a sullen face. The shock had slowly given way to anger, and he was furious. Zhou Hao and Xiao Jing had worked together, protecting their classmates. Hearing his question, they were afraid that he was on the verge of exploding and quickly tried to pacify the situation. No. Everyone is fine. Only Yang Qian might need to be amputated. Qin Feng shuddered at the thought. Yang Qian's injuries were severe. Her calves were repeatedly punctured by bullets, flesh hanging, and barely in one piece. Now that all that madness was over, it became clear to them that her wounds were alarming, and her calf might really need to be severed. Out of 30 students, 13 tragically lost their lives. The rest managed a close and lucky escape. Some wounded were sent to the hospital while others with lighter injuries were given on-the-spot treatment in the ambulance. The rest of the group squeezed into the patrol car so that they could be brought back to the station for statements and questioning, a group that included Chen Ming, who had gone into hiding when all hell broke loose. Chen Ming's eyes were glazed over. He had not expected something so dramatic to take place. Chapter 42. Chen Ming's acting. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The truth was, the spatial stabilization device malfunction that happened a month ago was a human-made incident. It was in the act of demonstration, during the operation, that they noticed Chen Ming's existence. He possessed a characteristic that the anti-human organization yearned very much, selfish and hypocritical. So, in half a month, under the guise of a mercenary team to recruit Chen Ming, they had successfully included him in an illegal operation where they took out a well-known unit in Qingbei. Chen Ming, in fact, felt that they had done nothing wrong, believing instead that this was what it took to survive in the wild. An ending without laws or morals, where the fist was absolute. Not only that, but Chen Ming also believed those who had not yet awakened were insignificant and worthless souls. Later on, the unit used commoners as bait to attract ultra-beasts to conduct a wide-area attack. Chen Ming, unsurprisingly, did not oppose it. He, in fact, the one who came up with the plan and even saw to its strict implementation, and he was very good at it. He truly felt that he was doing well in the team, and was very proud of himself for the merits he received for his contribution. He cared little about his blood-stained hands and charred heart. As long as he succeeded, nothing else mattered. This time was supposed to be the team's last test, telling Chen Ming that an organization was paying big money to buy over-ability users who had just awakened, about 30 million yuan all in all. If they succeeded, each member of the unit would get 3 million. Chen Ming would get 3 million. It was a pie in the sky. He immediately reacted and found his target, Zhao Yuanyan. All things considered, if he could have it his way, he would have preferred if they targeted Qin Feng or Zhou Hao. To his dismay, however, all the members of the team died, and the person who killed them all was Qin Feng. Didn't he say he wasn't awakened? How did he suddenly know martial arts? And how did he get rune equipment? And it even had silver light. Shoot! If they managed to identify the attackers, would they link them to me? Arg! Damn you, Qin Feng! God, he hated Qin Feng so much. This Qin Feng who was looking at him right now. Hated that frozen, billowing gaze that sent a chill down Chen Ming's spine even though it was a warm summer. Chen Ming was petrified right now. He could not shake off the strange feeling that Qin Feng knew something. When the patrol team piled them up in the car, Chen Ming attempted to avoid Qin Feng's stare. Consequently, the patrol team questioned the students and took notes. In a quiet and peaceful atmosphere, the students finally calmed down, although mostly clueless about a lot of things. In contrast, Qin Feng was calmer and more composed than most of his counterparts. This was supposed to be an unfortunate tragedy involving innocent intermediate academy graduates. Things, however, had taken an unexpected turn when one of the students actually single-handedly eradicated an anti-human group. This whole thing was somewhat mystifying. Did you know that they were going to come? No, then why did you bring your weapon with you? You're just a fresh graduate. How is it that you have a rune equipment? Qin Feng looked up and spotted the interviewer eyeing the rune equipment with a little too much interest. He knew all too well why that was. It was impossible that anyone wouldn't be tempted when they see a piece of silver-light rune equipment. The interviewer was obviously trying to find a connection that would somehow implicate Qin Feng. As a result, it would then be uncertain as to who was the rightful owner of the weapon. Qin Feng glared at the man with stern composure. I was one of the victims. Just because I killed the assailants, you want to conduct an investigation into me. The look Qin Feng gave the interviewer was murderous. Whether in the previous or current life, Qin Feng had indeed killed quite several people. Right now, he looked most frightful in his blood-soaked clothes and frigid stare. The patrol officer suddenly found himself diffident, quickly replying, "Don't get me wrong. We just need to find some clues." He feigned a cough and changed the topic. Has any of you offended anyone recently? I'm not sure. Did the assailant say anything? They said to take all the girls and kill the boys. The officer frowned as he took down Qin Feng's statement. He already had a theory in mind, it was possibly a show of force. Qin Feng added, but after that, they insisted on capturing one girl. She's the only ability user in our group. I suspect they meant to do her no good. The patrol officer's interest was piqued, but Qin Feng said no more. When asked if there was anything else, Qin Feng declined to comment. In the end, they got no useful information from Qin Feng, but as it turned out, there were new developments in the case. These people might not be the Black Spiders. A few of them were fugitive criminals, and some of them had set up mercenary units in Qingbei. All right. I got it. Though the situation was getting worse, Qin Feng's strength had prevented his friends from suffering more severe injuries. All right. Thank you for your cooperation. If we have any progress in the case, I will contact you again. Okay. Then, Qin Feng left with the rest of his classmates. Zhou Hao and Xiao Jing waited for him. Why did something like this happen? Poor Yang Qian. Xiao Jing gnashed her teeth. Yang Qian had just undergone a procedure, and Xiao Jing heard that she had lost a calf. Yang Qian was utterly devastated. Suddenly, Qin Feng stiffened. I have something to do. I need to go now. Qin Feng said, leaving his friends behind. Ah, okay, nodded Xiao Jing without raising any objections. Hey, lunatic. Don't forget the registration for the Advanced Academy is in 3 days. Qin Feng waved, an indication that he already knew. Since was covered in unsightly blood, he found a quiet corner where he slipped off the T-shirt and threw it into a bin. He then had Xiaobai take out his combat suit from his backpack. After he changed into the less bloody set, Qin Feng returned to the patrol office, finding a place to hide. He waited quietly like a hunter stalking its prey. He did not have to wait long before someone walked out. It was Chen Ming. The patrol team was not incompetent. They had previously discovered that Chen Ming was connected to the assailants, but he had stellar acting skills. Having deliberated and assumed the worst-case scenario before his interview, he pretended to be shocked and distressed. No wonder they kept asking me if anyone I knew recently had their abilities awakened. I thought that the captain was looking to recruit ability users. You know, most of my classmates come from underprivileged families, so I kept asking around. If I had known, I wouldn't have told them anything. I'm so sorry for what happened to them. Chapter 43. Break a leg. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chen Ming was weeping so inconsolably, so much so the patrol team eventually decided that he couldn't have been a viable suspect but a regular teenager. Compared to him, Qin Feng, who had managed to kill 10 armed men, was the abnormal one. Chen Ming, who had just blatantly lied to the patrol team, was still on edge. He kept having this feeling as if something was going to happen. Unfortunately, as he was worried about what the future would bring, he did not know was that danger was just around the corner. He entered an alley, lost in thoughts, considering any possible problems that might arise and how to overcome each and every one of them. His brain whirred about all kinds of scenarios, making sure to be thorough in case of any slip-up. Suddenly, everything went dark. It was pitch black. It was the kind of darkness that displayed the complete absence of light. It was so disorientating to the point his 5 senses seemed to have disappeared. Out of nowhere, he felt a stabbing pain shooting up his body. Overwhelmed by the sudden shock, he lost his balance and fell to the ground. Ah! Chen Ming screamed so loud he lost his voice. Ah! My leg! Who is it? Who? He wheezed. His pats were hanging limply from his thigh. The lower half of his leg was gone, nowhere to be seen. Around the corner of the alley, Qin Feng flicked his rune weapon and slid it into his sheath. As for that severed leg, Qin Feng had already burned it to ash with burning flames created by his ability. Chen Ming. I want you to suffer, he muttered. Somehow, hearing Chen Ming's helpless cries of pain pacified his anger. In the previous life, although Chen Ming was unaware of Qin Feng's kidnap, Qin Feng would forever remember his betrayal. Even then, it never crossed Qin Feng's mind that Chen Ming would be so perverse as to involve and endanger their classmates. Qin Feng knew that the Black Spider Group had nothing to do with this organization. He was now an A-tier elite, and it was easy for him to look for information about that lab in Qingbei Colony. Alas, after some time, he managed to find nothing. This organization was mysterious, as it was extremely powerful. Qin Feng decided to let Chen Ming live, to let him struggle for the rest of his life, and experience real despair. You should go through the pain that Yang Qian had to suffer. If anything ever happens to the others. Humph. Qin Feng hissed and shook his head as he stormed away. Not only did he use his saber just now, but he also used a dark rune, which, unlike the Nightshade, was used solely against enemies. The released special ability would then envelope the enemy in pure, solid darkness. For the past few days in the wilderness, Qin Feng tried to look up information of dark ability users on the internet but only found scare bits which amounted to nothing. However, he subsequently thought of a solution, which was to search for dark creatures. In this world, there were only two sides. Light and darkness. Dark creatures caused disasters. A good example was the large number of ultra beasts. One of them was called the Nightsky giant beast. Darkness would follow it wherever it went, enveloping its surroundings in a darkness so deep, not a single hint of light was left. This would cause anybody in the vicinity to lose all their senses. Naturally, Qin Feng could not possess such a terrifying special ability. But if this ability could be reduced in size, shrunken, then perhaps Qin Feng might just be able to use it. Even though Qin Feng could not shift all 100 million runes, which made up the foundation, it would be sufficient if he could relocate just 1/10,000. That was precisely how the miniature version of a darkness dome was created. This special ability is overpowered. If there are no special abilities to repel it, the enemy would surely fall, and I can kill him as I please. The thought of easy victories got Qin Feng really excited. That underground laboratory in the outskirts of Chengbei, the matter that had lingered in his mind after his rebirth. He had vowed to exact revenge. I should go back to absorb inner force first, he thought to himself. Ednel.co Qin Feng quickly hurried back to the hotel in his hover car. Then, he sat in a meditative position and triggered his special ability. Absorb. This time around, Qin Feng killed a total of 20 men. Among them, 5 were gunners. They were all strong but, unfortunately, nowhere near as good as Qin Feng when it came to close combat, especially not when he held the rune weapon. The other 7 were ancient warriors who actually turned out to be at full strength. The most powerful among them was at G8 tier. Despite all that, Qin Feng absorbed all their combat values. A total of 40.7 strands of inner force threads were wandering inside Qin Feng's Dantian, a chaotic mess capable of massive destruction. He could feel pain whenever his veins were expanded from absorbing the stream of inner force. Qin Feng clenched his jaw, persisting on despite the pain. Gradually, that pain turned into an itch that made him want to scratch at it badly. Then, very quickly after that, a stream of warmth passed through his body. His meridian was expanded once again. The next time, whether cultivating martial arts or releasing inner force, his speed and strength would significantly improve. At the same time, a surge of energy entered his body. His physical being was evolving again. G7. Tier, although merely a small improvement, it was still considered extremely fast. To go from a newly awakened to G7. Tier in a month was unprecedented. No one had ever done it before. After that, his 40.7 inner force threads returned and formed 13 thick and robust silk threads. That's a total of 18 inner force silk threads. Perhaps it's because I have absorption ability, that my Dantian and meridian had been modified and it can now house all 18 strands. In essence, I don't even have to level up to an F. Tier ancient warrior. An ancient warrior's evolution was determined by inner force cultivation and body strengthening. Due to Qin Feng being able to absorb others' inner force, and at the same time, strengthen his physique by absorbing from dead ultra beasts, he was able to improve faster than most people in a concise amount of time. Right now, his inner force was twice that of a G9 tier ancient warriors. As for his special ability, Qin Feng could now confidently challenge an F. Tier ability user. As a result, it made him more courageous and sure-footed. I don't think that this underground laboratory built right under Qingbei Colony's nose would have an E.tier ability user. In fact, Qin Feng looked at Xiaobai. When the Hellstone created a spatial rift, the strength that Xiaobai displayed after evolution was awe-inspiring. It indicated that it was ready to slaughter his enemies at that time. With Xiaobai's ability, they had nothing to be afraid of. They could leave whenever they liked. Until today, Qin Feng had never seen an ability user catch up to an ultra-beast with spatial ability. Let's go. It was late at night and the Qingbei Colony's gates were closed. Qin Feng did not mind it at all, though. He was clad in black from head to toe, and with his dark ability and Xiaobai's cooperation, they able to leave the colony quickly and without any trouble. When they were sure that the guards on the watchtower would not spot them, Qin Feng took out the hover car from Xiaobai's space and swiftly left. Xiaobai, the time for revenge has come. The expression on Qin Feng's face was murderous. Xiaobai seemed to understand him, a tinge of redness appeared in its dark eyes. Chapter 44. Raiding the laboratory. You are listening at novelfull.audio. There was a complete stillness under the dark sky, and a lone combat vehicle hovered above the reed marshes. The car was covered in beast-repellent powder, the one that frogmen and ultra-beasts were repulsed by, allowing Qin Feng to conduct his operation without disturbance. Soon, two people appeared on the river bank. Chirp! 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 Xiaobai called out before a silver light appeared. It was a space rune. Whoosh! In a blink of an eye, Qin Feng and Xiaobai disappeared. The next moment, the putrid smell of blood and rot overpowered their senses. They had reappeared in the sewer pipe, and they did not have to swim. Such was the power of Xiaobai's space ability. Qin Feng put on a gas mask, and Xiaobai jumped onto Qin Feng's shoulder. Chirp! Xiaobai exerted his strength again and the both of them reappeared in a place above the spot where they first met, the indoor area of the garbage disposal zone. It was already midnight, but a few people were still watching over the place. When Qin Feng suddenly appeared, the startled worker instinctively pulled out his weapon. Swoosh! A bright silver flash struck his throat before he could react. As silent as a pin drop, his head was separated from his body, sliding off without a sound. Qin Feng took a good look across the room. In his previous life, when he was here, he was unconscious the whole time and had no idea what the underground organization looked like. Then, when he was finally strong enough and came back, the entire place was already in ruins. He could see now that it was a deserted underground factory that had been recently renovated. It was a lot cleaner and more organized compared to previously. Stacked in crates were a massive supply of medical equipment. Qin Feng pushed open a door and could not help but gape at what lay before him. It was a storage room. Lined to the ceiling were cages filled with liquid supplements and tranquilizers in glass bottles, with some containing various types of ultra-beasts. There were even humans among them. But those people had already become specimens. Qin Feng could sense that the person he was looking at had been long dead. The only thing preserving him was the formalin he was doused in. An ultra-beast's ability core as big as an egg was planted on the man's forehead, looking as if he had a third eye on him. Gah! Disgusting! Qin Feng clenched his jaws at the ungodly abomination. He looked around at the ultra-beasts around him. They came in different shapes and sizes, but it was apparent that these creatures had been put through unspeakable torture. He decided that none of them would be useful to him, realizing that he did not need any for the moment. Quietly, Qin Feng slipped into the hallway. With his dark ability, no one could see him, and the surveillance camera could not capture any sign of him either. Qin Feng wafted along like an invisible spirit in the dead of the night. As he walked, he suddenly heard the voices of two men. He froze in his steps, listening in. Has all the information been collected? Yes. I can't believe we have to move so soon. We have to bloody move, all right. Those dumbasses got killed by an ancient warrior student who had only recently awakened. That student really hasn't awakened his abilities yet. If only it had, I'm sure he could make a really good subject for our experiments. There's nothing to discover about ancient warriors. They are not the ultimate stage in the evolution of human beings. Abilities are the mysteries that need solving. Our ability conversion technology will succeed soon. Time to go. We shouldn't stay in this small place. Evidently, these people were getting ready to leave. Qin Feng was thrilled. He knew he came in the nick of time or he would have missed them again. In his previous life, he came back too late for revenge. The whole place was in ruins, and he could tell that it was all a deliberate act. The conversation between the two told Qin Feng that the experiment was successful in the previous life, and they had only left after a breakthrough. Now that Qin Feng disrupted their rhythm and killed their ability user, they were forced to abandon the place although the experiment wasn't yet a success. Xiao Bai. Qin Feng called out. Xiao Bai immediately jumped into action. Qin Feng did not even have to say anything when a bright silver light enveloped them. The space rune was activated. The securely locked door of the laboratory was completely useless, as Qin Feng and Xiao Bai reappeared behind it. Unfortunately, you won't be leaving. Qin Feng sneered, pointing the verdant emperor saber at the two men. The men turned around to face Qin Feng. One of them was a 40-year-old in a white lab coat, every researcher's signature costume. He was a bag of pale skin and bones, and dark bags under his eyes which gave off the look of a crazed scientist. The other one was in his 50s with a big, round potbelly and an unsightly pugnacious beefed face. The suit that he was in looked really expensive. Only business executives in the colony could afford this class of garment. Startled by the unwanted surprise, they both stared at Qin Feng, dumbfounded. Who are you? How the hell did you get in? The scientist shouted. Me. Well, I am the student you were talking about. That one who killed your useless bunch of idiots. What? The moment they heard this, they realized that disaster was imminent. The businessman in the suit hurriedly reached for the gun strapped to his waist. Again, before anyone could react, a blinding silver flash shone the area before the man's arm fell to the ground with a thud. Argh! He screamed in agony at the sight of his own decapitated limb. The man's cries had alerted the guards outside the lab, but this didn't bother Qin Feng too much. The lab door was no ordinary door and could only be opened from the inside. It was going to take some time for whoever was on the other side to break in. Instead, he started questioning the men. Now, tell me. What is the purpose of all this? What organization do you belong to? With the verdant emperor saber in hand raised and on the ready, Qin Feng pounced on the guy in the white coat who was now trembling in terror. We were just trying to complete a great experiment. Great. Qin Feng felt like laughing. He failed to see any greatness in these repugnant trials. All he saw was these researchers' debauched perverseness. With a smirk, Qin Feng swung his verdant emperor saber again and sliced off the researcher's arm. Ah! The man screamed as his face was completely drained of color. Then, when Qin Feng pointed the verdant emperor saber directly at his throat, he fell silent and shook like a leaf. His fear was almost tangible in the air. Qin Feng was wearing a gas mask, so the man was unable to see his face. In the researcher's eyes, though, Qin Feng looked like a demon. I don't know how great you guys are. But why do you want to hurt my classmate? Qin Feng pressed. He was also asking this question for himself. I'll tell you. I'll tell you. Don't kill me. Please. With one limb missing and blood freely pumping out, the man sensed death looming above him. Although he knew deep down that Qin Feng was not about to let him go, a part of him believed that if he told the truth, Qin Feng would spare him somehow. Even if he was going to kill him, at least it wouldn't be now. He just needed to stall for time so that when that person finally came, they would not have to die. Chapter 45. Backstage Manipulator. You are listening at novelfull.audio. With that thought in mind, the researcher quickly explained, we have been studying how to turn humans into ability users, and after countless experiments, we found a way to transfer abilities. We need to perform the transplant the ability core while it's still alive. However, mature ability cores are so large that once they leave the body of the beast, they would collapse, so you're using ability users who have just awakened. Qin Feng continued, finally able to clarify the reason for what happened to him in his previous life. He was just unlucky. It was by sheer coincidence that he became their lab rat. Yi. Yes, the man answered while profusely nodding, too afraid to infuriate Qin Feng. Nevertheless, Qin Feng's fury was only escalating as the second went by. You haven't answered my second question. Qin Feng smirked. Those people, your people, were wearing black spider masks, but I know that you are not black spiders. Both of Qin Feng's hostages hesitated to answer the question, so Qin Feng brandished his knife again at the man in the suit. Ah. Fine. I'll tell you. I'll tell you, the man shouted in a panic, too afraid to disoblige Qin Feng, who was behaving like a ruthless madman. We're not black spiders. In fact, we're not even an anti-human group either. It's all very cloak-and daggerish business. Until today, all we know is the code name of the organization. Z is what they call it. Be more specific. Qin Feng barked. I don't know any more than that. I just know the code name. Our group is extensive, we almost always get high-level ultra-beasts for our experiments, he quivered, making sure to add in that last bit in the hopes to scare off Qin Feng. Z, it appeared that Qin Feng had never heard of them before. That one letter was too simple, and it could have meant so many things. He looked at the researcher fiercely, noticing the fear in his eyes. The guy had no reason to lie. Still, Qin Feng decided to throw him over the edge a little, threatening, since that's all you know, you have my permission to die now. Then, Qin Feng raised his verdant emperor saber high above his head, ready to unleash deadly blow. No. Don't kill me. Please. I'll tell you a secret. The man in the suit squirmed at the sight of the knife. Qin Feng's arm froze mid-air, eyes narrowed. If it's another piece of meaningless information, I'm afraid I won't grant you another chance to keep breathing. No. I'll tell you what you need to know, the man promised. The truth was he knew quite a few secrets, and now seemed like the best time for him to reveal some. Even though we're attached to Organization Z, we have vast resources of manpower for research. We have one station in every colony or city, where we trade with their leaders constantly. The attack on your classmates was not our original intention. It was only because the other party kept urging us to hurry up. At that, Qin Feng's heart did a somersault. Who is this other party you're talking about? As he pressed the blade against the man's neck, the man gulped hard before answering. It's the deputy mayor of Qingbei. Qin Feng's forehead creased. Then a light bulb went off in his head. So, it's him. An intensely bitter feeling of contempt and rancor filled him. Qingbei was a large colony, but Qingyang had another name for it, Qingbei District, managed by 2 district mayors, 3 generals, and 2 members of parliament. The 7 of them made up the most powerful authority in Qingbei. Deputy Mayor Lin Cheng was an E.Tier elect, and he had a son named Lin Kai. Which is to say that Lin Zheng wants his own son to become an ability user. Qin Feng pressed further. Yes, the man in the suit replied. We were originally experimenting on ultra-beasts. But their awakening periods were irregular. This happened to be awakening season, so we came up with the idea to grab an ability user. Everything I said is true. Without the support of people like that, how could we have set up a laboratory so close to Qingbei? Even if we were found out someday, we could always claim we're a legitimate business. Great. Very good. Qin Feng muttered through gritted teeth. That meant that in his previous life, his ability had been given to Lin Kai. It was that Lin Kai, a guy that was just another prodigal son of a wealthy family. During the awakening season, he suddenly exploded with ability, not just any ability, but the extremely rare dark ability. After he became an ability user, his strength grew at an astounding rate and subsequently became really powerful. However, the things he did were abominable, causing turmoil and mayhem in Qingbei like a disease, a pestilence ravaging a cornfield. To make matters worse, all of those assets he had were taken from Qin Feng. No wonder. Qin Feng wished he could rip a deep one into Lin Kai's throat that very moment. Chirp. 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 Xiao Bai, who had perched on Qin Feng's shoulder, suddenly cried out. Strangely, the man in the suit grinned in delight. Without so much as a warning, a silver light flashed, and Qin Feng and Xiao Bai suddenly found themselves in another corner of the room. Rumble. There was a deafening tremor, and the laboratory door burst open, crashing down right at the spot where Qin Feng stood a second ago. The researcher and the guy in the suit were literally blown away. Unfortunately, they did not survive the blast. The people they hoped would come rescue them were the ones who did not care if they were dead or alive. The hole where the door once stood was engulfed in smoke, but Qin Feng could roughly make out the form of the intruder. He looked to be about in his mid-20s and was wearing a black and green combat uniform. On his chest was a badge with an F1 printed on it, and he was holding a tactical energy cannon. A gunner. The young man raised the tactical energy cannon, looked through the sights, and aimed at Qin Feng. Boom. The cannon had discharged. Chirp. Xiao Bai cried out, again instantly sending Qin Feng to another location. Boom. The explosion was deafening. Shit. The perception ability. Becoming a gunner did not necessarily require a very high disposition, but once someone became a gunner, they had to undergo a unique strengthening process that enhanced their ability of perception. So, even if Qin Feng was hiding in a corner surrounded by thick clouds of smoke, the intruder was still able to attack him with confidence. Evading an F.class gunner's perception was not easily achievable, to say the least. To the gunner, there was nowhere Qin Feng could hide. Oh. This is interesting, the gunner suddenly chuckled. He did not expect Qin Feng to actually run. His amusement, however, quickly disappeared, and his face darkened. How is that possible? He asked with eyes as large as marbles. According to his perception, Qin Feng was already in the corridor. But he had already blocked the door. How in God's name did Qin Feng manage to get away? Could he walk through walls now? Simultaneously, Qin Feng was looking down at the floor, dumbfounded. There was a body lying by his feet. It was one of the guys from the lab. Who killed him? Was it that gunner? But why? Was this an indication that he was not an ally of the laboratory? Chapter 46. Friend or Foe? You are listening at novelfull.audio. The other guy did not give Qin Feng a chance to explain himself before he launched another attack. Qin Feng was running at maximum speed around the corner, when... Bam! A violent explosion suddenly went off behind him, throwing up a massive cloud of dust and rubble. A potent weapon the likes of a high-powered energy gun could kill its target with a single blow. Even if Qin Feng wore rune armor, the blast could still kill him as his head was unprotected. If you attack again, I will counter you. Qin Feng shouted as he looked to the ground, his fists clenched tightly. However, the answer to his threat was all but another deafening explosion. The entire place was engulfed with choking smog, and the roof was starting to crumble with debris falling. That really annoyed him. I'm also here to clean up the lab. We're on the same side, you dumbass. Why are you still attacking? At that, the assault immediately stopped. Who do you work for? The assailant asked from across the hallway. Of course, Qin Feng did not know how to answer the question. Who was he working for? He worked for no one. Ah, forget it. Whoever it is, there's one thing I know for sure, I won't let you escape. The person laughed hysterically and raised his energy cannon again. Qin Feng was outraged. The gears in his mind ground and whirred like a machine. This guy's plan was obviously to annihilate the laboratory in its entirety, leaving no one in it alive. That may have seemed to line up with Qin Feng's intentions, but the latter part sure had a more homicidal ring to it. On top of that, the man in the suit looked delighted to see the intruder, as if help had finally arrived. Instead, the intruder went ahead and killed him as if they didn't know each other. That instant, a thought struck Qin Feng as he remembered somebody in his mind. You work for the deputy mayor. Qin Feng said in a bitter tone. Hee hee, so what if you guessed, right? Must you know everything? What is the point? The man responded before pulling the trigger again. Qin Feng was right. This man did indeed work for the deputy mayor. As a matter of fact, this was his very competent subordinate, an F.tier gunner named He Li. G.tier aptitude users were the dominant force in Qingbei. For this reason, those who were F.tier, like Xue Xingfu, could only assume the office of captain. It was, however, a position that should never be underestimated, as they were known to accumulate wealth that most would never imagine having. Even some of the magnates with a net worth of up to tens of millions had to associate themselves with Xue Xingfu. It was a well-known fact that tens of millions weren't nearly enough to raise an F.tier ability user. Since you don't plan to let me off the hook, I won't either. Qin Feng grinned. Just because the guy was an F.tier gunner, it did not mean that he had the license to be so arrogant. In his haughtiness, he didn't realize that chances were, Qin Feng wasn't inferior to him. Xiao Bai. Qin Feng called out softly. Upon hearing its name, Xiao Bai released the space element, and Qin Feng vanished into thin air. Again, the gunner gasped, unable to fathom how Qin Feng managed the feat not to be dismissed. He had also prepared himself mentally and was alert of his surroundings. Before he knew it, Qin Feng had reappeared behind him. He Li immediately detected Qin Feng's presence but could not use his energy cannon because the distance between them was too small. If he were to fire the weapon, he would have placed himself in the line of fire as well. On top of that, the energy cannon was hefty and sluggish to operate. But then again, how could He Li not possess his own trump card? Speaking of which, the energy cannon in his hand vanished and in its place were two handguns. Swiftly, he turned around and fired. Pow! 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 Zing! Zap! Plunk! Qin Feng wielded his verdant emperor saber, ricocheting every shot, and none of the bullets hit him. A look of genuine surprise flashed across He Li's face. Silverlight rune equipment. Of course, He Li knew that it was not just the rune equipment that was powerful, but his opponent's defense was swift and alacritous as well. Qin Feng's heart was also drumming wildly inside his chest. Spatial rune equipment, he screamed. Previously, the energy cannon that had vanished into thin air was the work of the spatial rune equipment. That was not good news for Qin Feng. But then again, this was a very normal thing. A competent gunner would choose to have a weapon carrying spatial rune equipment over powerful weapons, which was why only the rich had the means to become accomplished in this profession. By He Li, having a spatial rune equipment meant that he was carrying a lot of weapons with him. Who knew what he would take out next? Qin Feng remained vigilant, not out of fear, but out of respect for his opponent. In all honesty, though, he was fired up to the point he could kill He Li. Darkness is coming. Qin Feng exclaimed frostily as he set his abilities in motion. Soon, a darkness blacker than death enveloped Healy. What is this? Healy suddenly lost all vision. Light itself seemed to have extinguished. Qin Feng's verdant emperor saber had struck again. Healy bolted towards Qin Feng. Even though he was unable to determine his exact location, he was able to block off his path. Qin Feng advanced yet again. Close combat was the best way to counteract a gunner. With his enemy at close proximity, Qin Feng drove his knife forwards and pulled downwards, a strike that could easily split a person in half. But Healy had hastily fallen back, tossing 5 pieces of something that looked like bottle caps. EMP, Qin Feng ducked and ran for cover as fast as a well-oiled piston. The EMP had locked onto Qin Feng's location, but it was not fast enough. Boom! 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 A series of powerful explosions ensued, the shockwave throwing Qin Feng into the air. Knocked out for a moment, he quickly came to, shaking off his ringing ears. His combat suit was damaged, and he could feel something sharp impaled deep into his arm. Healy fared no better either. Swathed in Qin Feng's darkness, Healy's reflexes were significantly inhibited. Although he had managed to dodge Qin Feng's deadly attack, the tip of the saber managed to snag him. Ryup. The blade had sliced through his combat suit as if it was made up of old rags. The purple rune armor underneath made a loud screeching noise. Healy reached out to touch his back and felt ridges running along the surface of his skin. A sharp stabbing pain shot down his chest all the way to his abdomen. Realizing that his enemy's knife could seriously hurt him, Healy made a swift decision, setting his submachine gun in rapid fire and sprayed bullets across the room. Duck! Qin Feng rolled over away from where he was standing and concealed himself in the shadows. Under the veil of darkness, Healy's perception was greatly reduced, and for a time, he was unable to track where Qin Feng was. Qin Feng laid low, then launched into another attack. As soon as that happened, Healy could sense his enemy again and was able to fight back. They were now in a deadlock, and neither one was about to give in. The rundown underground laboratory was like a demolished wreck. Rumble. Another wall collapsed. The whole place was in tremors, shuddering and creaking as if the ground was about to cave in at any moment. But neither one retreated. Unless one killed the other, they were not going to stop. Let's see how much perception you can use. Healy roared. Chapter 47. Ability User vs Gunner. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qin Feng's body flickered, and bright light poured out of his eyes. Perception. Hee. Qin Feng was an ancient warrior in his previous life. So, his first response when fighting against a gunner was to sneak up to the enemy and decapitate him. But the gunner's mindless prattling reminded him that he had another identity, an ability user. Why did he even have to fight the other guy like this? Sometimes, having lots of experience could turn out to be detrimental. Boom. 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 Another series of powerful blasts ensued. Healy unleashed his strength again. In reality, he looked terrible, was panting heavily, and his forehead was drenched in sweat. Even with the darkness confining him, Healy could sense that Qin Feng was only a G7 tier aptitude user. The weapon Qin Feng had, however, was extremely potent, which was why Healy didn't dare to get any closer. One of the gunner's outstanding problems was that weapons were a hassle to lug around. Not only that, but ammunition was also limited. And here, Healy was running low on ammo. It was then that Healy noticed that Qin Feng was entirely still. The darkness that had covered his eyes had dispersed as well, and he could finally see. The lights hanging from the ruined ceiling of the laboratory were flickering on and off, with the frayed wires crackling and zapping in bluish-white light. Did I guess it right? His perception was exhausted. Healy was pleased. But this kid's ability was not bad, after all. I've never seen anything like it. I might as well hand him over to the deputy mayor. We'll just have to conduct the experiment ourselves. Healy grinned at those thoughts. Hidden in the shadows, Qin Feng moved stealthily and steadily towards Healy, looking for a favorable position to strike. Suddenly, everything slowed down, his perception exploded into action. Hellfire. Furious black flames twirled like a whirlwind and poured down from up high. Healy was caught off guard. It was all but too late for him to try and make a run for it. Ah! Healy screamed in agony as flames overwhelmed him. He thrashed wildly, but the fire followed him, burning away every inch of his flesh with no respite and leaving no part untouched. Healy had literally become a human torch. After a while, the screaming fizzled out into a croak, then a wheezing hiss. His struggle gradually came to a stop, and he collapsed with a thud. Extinguish! Qin Feng waved his hand, and the black flames went out. Healy's body had been burnt beyond recognition. Only a completely charred lump of flesh remained. Just like that, an F-tier gunner had been put to death in what was left of an advanced laboratory. It was over, for now at least. A rush of lethargy suddenly flooded Qin Feng's mind and body. Chirp! Xiao Bai jumped out of a corner. Qin Feng had disallowed it to participate in the fight, and when the little creature saw the wounds that riddled Qin Feng's body, it leaped onto his shoulder and licked his face. Ah! Stop messing about, Xiao Bai. Qin Feng lovingly stroked Xiao Bai, which was covered in a layer of dust. Turning around, Qin Feng held back his smile and approached Healy's body. The combat suit was burnt and destroyed, but then, something else caught his attention, the purple armor. As Qin Feng reached out to touch it, parts of Healy crumbled into ash. He then picked it up. I might have actually damaged it. Qin Feng studied the gashes on the armor. Undoubtedly, the verdant Emperor saber was not an item to be underestimated. I can probably get some experts to fix it, then I could sell it for some money. Qin Feng muttered as he bagged the armor. Healy had other protective items on him, such as his hand and leg guards. These were to protect the larger areas of his body from injuries. They were all blue light rune equipment, and Qin Feng took them all without question. Spatial rune equipment. Among the charred remains that was still smoking, Qin Feng spotted the unmistakable silver glow of the ring. Qin Feng infiltrated the ring with his consciousness and saw that inside it was a storage space, much like a tiny room that measured 2 meters by 1 meter and was about a meter in height. It wasn't vast by any standards, but inside, about a dozen weapons were neatly arranged. They were all pretty expensive weapons and worth more than 8 million yuan altogether. Of course, the spatial rune equipment was the most valuable item of them all. A fine specimen could cost at least 10 million yuan. Be that as it may, Qin Feng did not need rune equipment. He could just sell off the ring. But the problem was, to whom? Qin Feng transferred all the weapons from the ring into Xiaobai's space, then took out a few bombs with a timed fuse. Healy had prepared these, especially for the laboratory. Now that he was dead, it was up to Qin Feng to complete the task. After all, for his own safety, he did not want any word about this laboratory to get out either. Let's go. Qin Feng instructed his pet. Xiao Bai teleported, bringing Qin Feng along. In a blink of an eye, they were back in the wilderness again. Qin Feng pushed a button on the remote control, and a loud explosion followed. The ground underneath them sank, and then silence as if nothing had happened. It was in the middle of nowhere. No one would be none the wiser. Although he tore down the laboratory that had damaged him in his previous life and found bits of information that could help find out the people behind it, Qin Feng found himself facing an even more baffling mystery. He might be able to discover more from the deputy mayor, but right now, he wasn't nearly strong enough to confront him directly. The enemy of my enemy is a friend. I don't mind having one more powerful helper. Qin Feng had an idea. He took off the 30,000 yuan T3. Combat outfit he was wearing, now completely damaged and in an irreparable state. After taking out his luggage from Xiaobai's space, he realized that he had only 2 more sets of clothes left. It's time to buy some. Qin Feng grumbled in frustration to himself. It was hard to avoid damaging clothing during those violent skirmishes, and he had quickly used up everything in his keep. By the time they returned to the colony, morning had already broken. Qin Feng wasted no time getting in touch with the person he had not contacted for nearly a month now. Captain Xue, I have something in hand. I wonder if you'd be interested. Half an hour later, a bleary-eyed and yawning Xue Xingfu complained, why is this kid always up so early? Young people really try too hard. Of course, Qin Feng didn't tell him what he was selling. Soon, a hover car stopped in front of Xue Xingfu. To an F.tier ability user, luxury cars like that were nothing unusual. After a closer inspection, Xue Xingfu's eyes became as wide as saucers. Qin Feng climbed out of the driver's seat carrying a backpack. He walked up to Xue Xingfu's car. Xue Xingfu was still dazed, taking it all in. Qin Feng knocked on the window, startling the driver. Qin Feng, you've been earning big money recently, huh? Greeted Xue Xingfu, a bitter sensation clearly tingling the back of his tongue. This young man had purchased a hover car, an asset that must have been really expensive. And all of this even before he sold anything to Xue Xingfu. Chapter 48. Changing to a new house. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Those things aren't suitable for you. The rat tsunami incident in the plantation was now on the official records, and Xue Xingfu benefited nothing from it. Also, it was not fitting to just give him all that energy cores, either. Do they suit me this time? Xue Xingfu's chubby cheeks bobbed upwards as he smiled eagerly. That and I also discovered a secret. What is it? Xue Xingfu did not know what it was, but his body stiffened in anticipation. What do you know about that terror attack yesterday? Qin Feng asked in a low voice. Xue Xingfu frowned. I know bits and pieces here and there, but that's it. Matters like these are not within our jurisdiction, Xue Xingfu was careful to reply. The area surrounding Zhengyuan Hotel was actually under the deputy mayor's administration, but he didn't want to make it seem too obvious. On top of that, there were so many people in the class that it would be hard for them to carry out their plan. Otherwise, if they had known that Qin Feng was the one who sabotaged it, they would have pounced on him long before this. Of course, they were actually planning to hunt down Qin Feng under the guise of night, hoping to find some excuses for his capture. Unfortunately, he did not return to the hotel. Qin Feng could sense the danger even as he digested Xue Xingfu's words. I brought this. Qin Feng took out his communicator. Not wanting to miss a single thing, he recorded everything he came across. A conversation began to play. No, don't kill me. I'll tell you a secret. If it's another meaningless piece of information, I'm afraid won't be giving you another chance to keep breathing. No. The attack on your classmates wasn't our original intention. It's only because the other party kept urging us to hurry up. Who is this other party you're talking about? It's the deputy mayor of Qingbei. Hearing those things, Xue Xingfu's eyes grew full and round. How reliable is this? Who were you interrogating? Why did they say that the deputy mayor was the one who instigated it? If this recording is all you have, not only will it not benefit you in any way, but you might even get dragged deeper into the mess. This is no joke, you know. Xue Xingfu fired one question after another at Qin Feng. Despite his plump, good-natured face, he was actually an extremely meticulous man. Otherwise, he would never have become the profiteer he was in the previous life. A fact worth mentioning was that even when he became an influential businessman, he remained an F.tier elect. To achieve such a status, it was no doubt he had powerful allies by his side. In the beginning, it was the actual district head of Qingbei, an E.Tier elect called Xingyang. Xue Xingfu drew a deep breath, returning some color to his face. He looked at Qin Feng sympathetically. You're too weak now. Those who had intimate knowledge of secrets but were weak almost always died terrible deaths. Me. Weak. Qin Feng looked amused. He then raised his hand and revealed the spatial rune that was in it, followed by 2 rune equipment, the purple rune armor and arm guards that belonged to He Li. These are what I wish to sell. Of course, if you want the spatial rune, I can also sell it to you. Qin Feng wiggled his finger. Xue Xingfu's eyes looked like they were about to pop out of their sockets. Where did all of this come from? Qin Feng's smile evaporated when he realized what Xue Xingfu was actually asking. I went out yesterday and discovered this hidden laboratory in the wilderness. Because the experiments they conducted violated the human treaty, I interrogated them out of curiosity. I didn't think it'd be such a big secret. That classmate of mine who was attacked was supposed to become their lab rat. Also, according to the person I questioned, the deputy mayor's son Lin Kai has just received his awakening injection this year, but it turned out to be nothing, not even an ancient warrior with disposition would be successful. There were only 3 days left until the awakening season was over. Even though one should never give up hope until the last second, there was no way the trash of society, Lin Kai, would ever awaken. All he ever did was eat, drink, look for whores, and gamble his life away. He was only 16 but had already wasted away. It would be a disgrace to the heavens if he awakened. They are experimenting on transferring abilities. Xue Xingfu got the gist of it. Qin Feng narrowed his eyes, and deep, deathly seriousness within it. Are you interested in it as well, Captain Xue? Sensing spite in Qin Feng's voice, Xue Xingfu quickly put an end to the subject. This blatantly goes against the human covenant. I would never stand by dishonest means. When the rift appeared back then, all hell broke loose on Earth. And ever since the appearance of ability users in that insane combat state, they became an alarming threat. The officials were compelled against their will, or perhaps, compelled by their desire to possess such great strength. To retain their power, they conducted numerous heinous experiments where ability users were captured. And although all these things were done in the dark, they were somehow exposed, triggering a mutiny. In the end, this was why each colony had its own leadership. At the same time, each colony was obligated to guarantee that no more experiments such as these were to be conducted. Everyone was to be cremated on the spot to avoid them from being used as test subjects. Qin Feng answered sharply, it's best not to use it. Xue Xingfu quickly changed the subject. You continue. Continue what you were going to say. Qin Feng then shared a little information. Dang. You interrupted me. I almost forgot. Qin Feng scoffed. These items belonged to an F.Tier gunner. You're saying that he works for the deputy mayor and is an F.Tier gunner. Isn't that He Li? Xue Xingfu gasped. If this He Li challenged him to a fight, Xue Xingfu would gladly withdraw. But here, Qin Feng simply killed the guy. Xue Xingfu found it rather hard to believe. Then, he suddenly thought about what Qin Feng's rhetorical question to him, me. Weak. If he managed to kill He Li, then he was definitely not weak. This kid was a freak. Had he really only awakened for a month? Qin Feng wanted to waste no more time having small talk. He said, well. I don't know him, but of course, you can look into it on the sly. I'm done talking. Do you want to buy these things or not? Xue Xingfu scanned the 3 things. A spatial rune ring, a piece of purple rune armor, and a blue light handguard. I'll take them all. All 3 for 20 million. How's that? Any spatial rune equipment would typically cost around 10 million, and its value would never depreciate. The purple rune armor, on the other hand, needed fixing and was worth little but still held its value as an F-tier item. Even after depreciation, it would be worth at least 8 million. As for the handguard, it could only yield 2 million, its condition notwithstanding. Deal. Hold on for a while. I don't have so much cash on me right now, but I have property. I can sell them out fast for close to 20 million yuan. Oh. Qin Feng deliberated about the offer before replying, bring me there for a look. If it's okay, then we'll do the trade. Xue Xingfu's lips twitched involuntarily. If he had known Qin Feng was so easy, he would have said that the house was worth 30 million. Nevertheless, half an hour later, the two of them were in Lake Qing Mansion, a small high-end neighborhood in the colony. Indeed, this the only natural lake in the entire Qingbei. This was also true for its surrounding colonies. This neighborhood was also on the upper reaches of Qinghe Bay, the one Qin Feng had visited. Lake Qing was just a small part of Qinghe Bay, where many wealthy people and elects had a view of the townhouse. Chapter 49. Bounty Hunter Network. You are listening at novelfull.audio. How posh it was, building villas in the colony. Only a few kinds of people could afford to live in them, though. They would be E-tier elects, including the district mayor, generals, and even the principals of advanced academies. People worshipped status symbols. Not everyone could just move into the surrounding neighborhoods as they wanted to. Since Qin Feng was the one who killed He Li, he had the leverage to live here, thought Xue Xingfu. Qin Feng, too, couldn't care less if people started causing problems just because they disliked him staying here. My house is on the 9th floor. The elevator only stops at 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. Each house has 2 floors and is about 350 square meters. Xue Xingfu explained. Mine even has a small attic. From the rooftop, you'll have a wonderful of the entire colony. Xue Xingfu was good at what he did, but he preferred to lay low. He had always kept mum about this sterling property he owned and was even willing to do things that many people considered a con, such as exchanging G-grade strengthening potions with Qin Feng. Qin Feng followed Xue Xingfu into the elevator, keeping a straight face. People here were far and few between. Despite the lack of human presence, just by being here would make most visitors faint. The colony was cramped and suffocating, with most wishing it had more space. Xue Xingfu swiped a card on the door with a distinct click following it. When the lights were turned on, Qin Feng could see that the house was lavish and well decorated, a sight pleasing to the eyes. In the colony, 1 square meter would cost 40 to 50,000 yuan. The average wage earner wouldn't even be able to afford a single tile. We have the living room, dining room, kitchen, guest room, bathroom, and training room on the 1st floor. Upstairs, we have the master bedroom with en suite, the changing room, and a hidden room. Of course, this house has everything, albeit, the kind of security system you choose to install. On the 3rd floor is the attic and outside, a viewing room with a luxurious bathtub, if you know what I mean. Xue Xingfu winked, as if very proud of the unabashed bathtub. The poor made up most of the colony, but as long as they had money, they could live as outrageously as they liked. Not bad. Qin Feng was an A-tier elect in his previous life, with no measure of opulence he had not seen before. This was not a big deal to him. Xue Xingfu understood that this young man had always been reserved and did not insist on Qin Feng showing any indication of delight. For most combatants who fought in the wilderness, acquiring a place to live was mainly for their families. It did not matter that they could not enjoy the fruits of their hard labor. Unfortunately or fortunately, in this case, Qin Feng had no family, so naturally, he felt no significance to it. It's all set then. This house belongs to you now. Xue Xingfu completed the procedure on his communicator and transferred the ownership of house number 399 of Lake Qin to Qin Feng. Well, I won't take any more of your time then. You've been fighting the whole night. Have a well-deserved rest. Xue Xingfu patted Qin Feng on the shoulder as he left, sighing at the thought of the fact that he no longer owned the house. However, when he looked at the purple rune armor and space stabilizing device, his mood immediately uplifted, a small distraction from the rather substantial loss. Qin Feng watched Xue Xingfu leave before combing through the entire house, fearing it might be bugged. After a thorough search, he was satisfied and set down his backpack. Xiao Bai jumped out eagerly. Chirp. That sure is one verbose human. Xiao Bai grumbled. Go ahead and take a look around. This is where we'll be staying from now on. But I don't think we'll be here long. Xiao Bai did a little jig. Then, like Qin Feng, it did a sweep of the house, sniffing around and gingerly touching everything like a queen touring her new territory. Alright, Xiao Bai. It's time for a shower. After the fight yesterday, Qin Feng looked really worse for wear. Those who didn't know he was an ability user would think that he had just returned from a day of moving bricks in a construction yard. Xiao Bai, too, was all dusty and muddy. The little creature skipped to the bathroom and settled itself in the sink while Qin Feng took a shower. Qin Feng turned the water for Xiao Bai, making sure the temperature was right. It slumped backward, eyes closed in apparent relaxation. As he cleaned the dirt off himself, Qin Feng combed through the proceeds of the night. Yesterday, he killed Healy with hellfire, and as soon as the guy died, Qin Feng absorbed the energy from his corpse. The only thing was, the energy was very weak. On the other hand, he noticed his consciousness had improved by leaps and bounds. Gunners were physically weak against ancient warriors. Healy was the same. That being said, his consciousness was exceedingly robust. Qin Feng realized, even more so now, on how incredible his absorption ability was. Of course, other than consciousness, his physique had also toughened up. Before he demolished the laboratory, Qin Feng returned to the room where they stored the test subjects and killed all of the ultra-beasts that were barely alive, relieving them of their suffering. He did not do it out of pity, but too many people had died in the hands of these creatures. He would be incredibly stupid if he took pity on them. He did what he did because he was afraid that the ultra-beasts would escape and eventually become a threat to Qingbei. There was no shortage of ultra-beasts here. All the test specimens in the lab were in terrible shape. I only managed to absorb a small bit of energy from them, but I still managed to level up. Amazingly, he had reached G8 tier. He was so close to becoming F. tier, he only needed to level up 2 more times. As he turned the tap off, Qin Feng stood in front of the mirror and examined his body. Firm muscles wrapped around his bones, and considering he'd absorbed that bone hand back then, he seemed to have grown a little taller, now standing around 178 centimeters. He was no longer skinny and scrawny. BL.net his whole body brimmed with explosive energy, waiting to burst out with bright radiance. My clothes are also tighter, he laughed. Forget it. He would deal with it tomorrow. Including last night, Qin Feng had not slept for over 30 hours. But having the body of an ancient warrior and the consciousness of an ability user, he could even go on for 7 days and 7 nights without a wink of sleep. With all things considered, however, after such a big battle and the fact that Qin Feng was still in the awakening period, he did not want to risk it. After Xiao Bai was clean, it curled up next to Qin Feng, and the both of them fell into a sweet sleep. When they awoke, the sun was setting. Qin Feng checked the message on his wrist. It was this notification that woke him up. It was Xue Xingfu. Brother, the information you gave is real handy. The case you mentioned yesterday. I'm handing it now. According to the Bounty Hunter Network, the reward for the 2 criminals you killed is 400,000 yuan. I've already transferred the money to your account. Because Xue Xingfu knew about the deputy mayor's involvement, he bullishly got himself involved in the case, even going as far as to fire those who wanted to harm Qin Feng. On top of that, he even made sure that the reward Qin Feng received was on the dot. Not a cent more, not a cent less. Bounty Hunter Network. That's great. Qin Feng reread the words on Xue Xingfu's message, and a thought struck his mind. Chapter 50. Xiao Bai showing off. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The Bounty Hunter Network was a website dedicated to hunting down anti-human organizations. Found nowhere else, you could dig up details of tens of thousands of wanted criminals where images, pictures, and their body analysis were made available. For that reason, the communicator was a handy device that could do a scan of the surroundings and identify any felons within 100 meters, subsequently alerting the bounty hunters. Even those who were not bounty hunters could download a particular software so that they could evade detection by the criminals. It was rather popular in the underworld, and nearly everyone used it. Qin Feng's current communicator could not do any of these. The hover car communication system, on the other hand, was of the highest specification, able to sweep a 1-kilometer radius. This is a good opportunity for me to get some new clothes. Qin Feng climbed out of bed, stretched a little before slipping on his clothes, which were now a little too tight for his newly obtained muscular physique. Nevertheless, he was not too concerned about how he looked. Xiao Bai, I'm going out now. Do you want to stay at home? Qin Feng asked. Xiao Bai was playing on the stairs. The moment Qin Feng mentioned that he was leaving, it instantly sped down the steps, its fluffy fur bobbing gently as it leaped into Qin Feng's arms. Let's go together, all right. Qin Feng returned Xiao Bai to his backpack. The hover car was parked downstairs, standing out like a sore thumb among the array of luxury cars. A few residents in the building eyed the car suspiciously. It looks like another newcomer. I wonder who it is. Gotta keep an eye out for him. Qin Feng did not know what these people were thinking. The car arrived at the commercial district, a place where the average person would never set foot in. Not that certain people were restricted from entering, but it was because people were intimidated by the ridiculously exorbitant prices of the goods and services here. Some have been known to get into serious trouble after merely soiling a piece of clothing. Qin Feng had just parked his car in the lot when something caught his eye. Chirp. Xiao Bai saw it as well. A woman who seemed to be from the upper class was holding a leash fastened to a majestic and magnificent canine, a golden retriever. It was one of the most popular large breeds of dogs during peacetime. Gentle by nature, it loved being around humans and was always a loyal companion. Since the Rift's attacks, animals awakened sooner than human beings. Their physique went through the roof, where some pets were even better at combat than their human owners. Hounds protecting their owners were a common sight. After all, they were up against alien creatures that came from a world beyond the Rift. Domesticating ultra beasts were the new fad, creating an entirely separate category combat profession and a group of professionals known as beastmasters. Of course, how powerful a beastmaster would be depended on how powerful their pets were. The bond between Qin Feng and Xiao Bai was based on the creation of beastmasters as well. That's a good idea. If someone paraded their pet around town among ordinary people, they would inevitably find themselves drawing attention. But here, things were very different. This area was populated by the wealthy, so, adopting pets were a common sight. 10 minutes later, Xiao Bai had put on a leash around its neck. It was even joined by a pink bow tie. A true wolf in sheep's clothing, no one would suspect that Xiao Bai was actually a beast. King tier ultra. Beast. This was the first time Xiao Bai walked on the road in public. Naturally, the little creature was very excited. Although not exactly enjoying the chains, Xiao Bai paid little attention to it since this was way better than hiding inside Qin Feng's backpack. The first thing Qin Feng did was buy a new communicator. The most expensive communicator that was sold in Chengbei Colony cost a good 100,000 yuan. Considering Qin Feng had a current net worth of over 1 million, he had no qualms buying the device. The silver gadget looked snazzy. All it took was a glance to tell that it was no low-end communicator. Having the device in hand, Qin Feng downloaded the Bounty Hunter network. I wonder how many criminals roam the Beijing colony. Qin Feng had this murderous look in his eyes. He did not download this software to protect himself but to kill criminals. In fact, as long as they were nearby, he would surely hunt them down. How could he not do it when he could earn money and accelerate his progress at the same time? Next, Qin Feng walked into an apparel store that sold branded goods. BL.net, chirp. Xiaobai suddenly refused to move. What is it? Qin Feng gave Xiaobai a concerned look and noticed that the little creature was looking at the two mannequins standing by the door. The male one wore a jet black suit, whereas the female had been given a magnificent formal evening gown. Adorned with something that made it dazzle under the bright spotlight, it cost a cool 300,000 yuan. The glimmer did not come from diamonds, but a special fluorescent compound synthesized from a specific ultra-beast insect, the bioluminescent blood-sucking beetle. The fluorescence was added only for aesthetic value. Adding this shimmering feature to the uniforms in the wilderness would be a death wish. However, it was viewed differently in the colony, where some of the wealthy would have exquisite clothing like this purpose-made for their wedding. Xiaobai was not looking at those mannequins, of course. It was two tiny puppies between the couple that had caught its attention. One was black and the other white. The latter was a fluffy toy dog in a mini wedding dress. Qin Feng was at a loss for words. Chirp. 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 Xiaobai jumped up and down eagerly. Qin Feng shook his head. I didn't know you are such a show-off. Xiaobai stared at Qin Feng with its deep black glossy eyes, almost as if it was about to throw a tantrum. All right. I'll get it for you. Qin Feng agreed reluctantly, realizing that he always gave in to Xiaobai, thereby spoiling the little beast. A shop attendant took note of Qin Feng's presence, but because his dressing was so low-key, she thought it best to ignore him. When she noticed the communicator in his hand, though, her eyes lit up. He must be one of that discreet nouveau riche, loaded but always in tatters. But before she could welcome him with a smile, Qin Feng paused in front of the store's display and asked loudly, "Excuse me, how much is this pet wedding dress?" Qin Feng waved at the shop attendant. The shop attendant's lips twitched at the question. Their customers usually shopped for formal clothes or bought tailored wedding dresses. This was the first time anyone had asked about a wedding dress for their pet. That is just for display, sir. It's not for sale. That. The shop attendant looked uncertain. Please wait for a minute. I'll go ask the manager, she relented. So off she went, talking into the communicator. As soon as she left, the door into the store opened and in walked a couple. Honey, you've bought me so many things. Let me pick you a few outfits. You can't always dress so casually. You're so handsome, and you'll look perfect in the clothes here. This brand is really well known, and they have styles for both male and female, tweeted a cloying voice that made Qin Feng's skin crawl. Suddenly, Qin Feng's communicator started vibrating intensely. A prompt appeared on the screen. Attention bounty hunter. Criminal confirmed. Lehigh, Qin Feng stared at the device for a moment and then put it away calmly as he studied the two patrons that had just walked into the shop.